Ellie still looks and acts like a 14-year-old from season 1, even though she's supposed to be 19.
Joe Rogan didn't hold back. As the episode of his podcast rolled on, he leaned into the mic with that signature blend of disbelief and humor. "You mean to tell me," he began, "that Bella Ramsey actually thought she could take one of the most iconic characters in modern storytelling, rewrite her entire personality, lecture the fan base, and still come out looking like a hero? Come on." His guest laughed, but Joe was only getting started. The downfall of Bella Ramsey wasn't just another Hollywood misstep. It was a warning shot for every celebrity who forgets who they're performing for. And Joe, he was ready to break it down piece by piece.
I'm sorry. That was acting. That's what that was. I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that. I can't imagine. I mean, Christian.
It wasn't supposed to be like this. Bella Ramsey was once considered a breakout star. Fans praised her early performance as Lyanna Mormont in Game of Thrones. She had a few scenes, but they left a lasting impression. Fierce, powerful, no nonsense. And when HBO cast her as Ellie in The Last of Us, there was skepticism at first, sure, but also excitement. A new face, a young actress with grit. Rogan remembered the buzz. People were hyped, he said. The fan base wanted to believe she'd do justice to Ellie. This was a role with emotional depth, toughness, heart. It was a big responsibility.
Like most people, I liked the first season. I thought they did a great job. Season 2, I was skeptical on them not recasting Ellie and keeping Bella Ramsey as Ellie because it's supposed to take place 5 years into the future, but obviously Bella Ramsey in real life was not going to age that much in, the 2 years it took between seasons. So in the show, Ellie still looks exactly the same, but is supposed to be 5 years older. Also, Ellie still acts exactly the same. For some reason, they made the decision for The Last of Us Season 2 to make Ellie dumb, to the point where she even says that she's stupid. Why? That just kind of betrays the character.
And for a while, things looked promising. Season 1 of the show landed strong. Critics gave it glowing reviews. Even those who weren't sure about Bella at first came around. People gave her a chance, Joe emphasized. They wanted her to win. But then came the interviews, the sound bites, the statements. Bella wasn't content just playing Ellie. She wanted to redefine her. And worse, she started challenging the very fan base that had given her a platform in the first place. "It's like she forgot who built the show," Joe said. "The fans, the gamers, the ones who've been loyal to this franchise since the PlayStation 3.
Joel, I think I found something.
Whoa!
What?
No, nothing. It's just your forehead seems bigger than last season.
I think I found a way.
Joe pulled up a few quotes Bella had made in interviews. In one, she called fans who criticized her version of Ellie stuck in the past. In another, she said the game's original tone needed to be challenged because it didn't reflect modern values. You can't say that stuff and not expect blowback, Rogan pointed out. These fans love the character. They love the story. You're not doing a TED Talk. You're doing a post-apocalyptic zombie series. You're supposed to act, not preach.
We just had to not like each other for a bit.
You had to not like me, which came easy.
So
As the backlash grew online, Bella seemed to double down. She dismissed criticism as cowardly. She claimed that her portrayal was more honest, more real, more emotionally vulnerable. But to fans, it sounded like someone trying to justify turning a beloved character into a mouthpiece for personal opinions. People tuned in for The Last of Us, not the agenda of us, Joe said with a smirk. And when the main star spends more time lecturing the audience than respecting the role, things fall apart fast.
Yes, maybe we can prop it open with something and you can slide.
Whoa! Oh my god, what?
Is it getting bigger?
Stop it.
No, seriously, what's with that?
It's fine, Joel.
Does it hurt?
Joel, please. You're making me self-conscious.
I'm sorry, it's just a little bit startling.
Normal head, Joel. Can we just get back to the door things?
It's planetary.
Leave it.
It's gonna have its own area code soon.
The internet responded the way it always does, with memes, videos, and massive threads breaking down every interview, every quote, every clip. Hashtags like #NotMyEllie started trending. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Some defended Bella, but most called her out. And then came the tipping point, South Park. That episode changed everything. Dude, South Park absolutely destroyed her, Joe laughed. They turned Bella into this parody character called Bella Trashley, who gives speeches about zombie rights and refuses to use weapons in the apocalypse. I mean, that's brutal.
Change up your impression at all, or is it pretty much the same?
Well, the noise is the same. I've not got any more noises in my back pocket. The new infected are pretty terrifying. They're so smart, and they haven't really got a noise. That's the whole point of them. They're silent and terrifying.
Ooh, give us a little silent and terrifying.
Joe explained how the South Park parody didn't even need to stretch the truth. They simply reflected what Bella had already been saying. That's what made it sting so bad, he said. It wasn't even exaggerated. It was like they just watched her interviews and animated them. That's how far gone it had gotten. The parody episode went viral. Fans from every corner of the internet started comparing Bella's real interviews to the South Park lines. It was uncanny, and it was devastating for her image. But what really pushed things over the edge was Bella's response. Instead of brushing it off or owning the moment, she went live on Instagram, visibly emotional, and lashed out. She called it a public execution masked as comedy, Joe recalled. She cried, she blamed HBO, she blamed the fans, she said she was being thrown away. It was raw, but it wasn't brave, it was a meltdown. Joe noted that while he had sympathy for someone going through a tough moment, it was also clear that Bella wasn't ready for the kind of public pressure that comes with leading a billion-dollar franchise. Look, Rogan said seriously, when you sign up to carry a show like The Last of Us, you've got to be ready for both the praise and the criticism. You don't get to go live crying into your phone because people didn't like what you did with the character. That's not strength. That's not leadership. That's not Ellie. Clips from her live stream were quickly turned into memes. Her tearful statements were remixed, auto-tuned, turned into viral audios. Even fans who once supported her started saying she was in over her head. And while all this was happening, HBO stayed silent. No statement, no support, no follow-up. Behind the scenes, though, it became clear the network had made a decision. Bella was being quietly removed. Her name was scrubbed from press kits. Promotional videos disappeared, upcoming interviews were canceled, and then came the leak. Bella Ramsey was out. Joe raised an eyebrow. That's Hollywood for you, he said. They'll lift you up fast, but when things turn south, they'll erase you even faster. Insider reports revealed that Bella had clashed with directors and writers during production. She reportedly demanded changes to the script, challenged dialogue, and even tried to influence the arcs of other characters. Rogan laughed in disbelief. She wanted editorial control over the story. Come on, that's not your job. You're the actor. Respect the story or step aside. He emphasized that when actors overstep, it creates chaos on set and ruins the creative process for everyone else. Joe also talked about how Bella's behavior had started affecting the entire Last of Us brand. Cosplayers began switching back to the game version of Ellie. Reddit threads banned discussions about her to avoid flame wars. Discord servers split apart. The fan base was no longer arguing over storylines. They were arguing over her. That's when you know it's gone too far, Joe said. When you become bigger than the story, you're not serving the character anymore. You're stealing the spotlight for the wrong reasons. The fallout wasn't just online. Industry insiders said Bella had become difficult to work with. Some called her passionate, but others said she was combative, stubborn, and inflexible. Directors grew frustrated. Writers stopped including her in revisions. At one point, production began filming backup footage without her knowledge, just in case she walked off set. Joe raised his hands. That's insane. You know it's bad when they start preparing for your exit before you've even finished the scene? Even Pedro Pascal, her co-star, reportedly began distancing himself. While he supported her in public, there were rumors he had warned HBO about the risks of keeping her in such a central role. Joe shook his head. It's like she had the keys to the kingdom and decided to light the map on fire. There's a fine line between standing up for your beliefs and sinking the whole ship because you want to steer it yourself. The worst part, Joe argued, was that Bella could have had it all. She was young, talented, and handed a golden opportunity. She didn't need to do all this, he said. If she had just focused on the role, respected the fans, and stayed humble, she could have been set for life. Instead, she turned Ellie into a platform, and the audience turned the TV off. Now, instead of being remembered as the face of a new generation of storytelling, she's remembered as the actress who got roasted by South Park and canceled by the very fandom that once welcomed her in. As the podcast wrapped up, Joe gave one last thought. Bella Ramsey didn't just get pushed out, she walked into it. She climbed the ladder, ignored every warning, and then knocked it over on the way down. And now she's sitting at the bottom wondering what happened. The fans didn't cancel her. She canceled herself. He leaned back and smiled. Maybe next time, just play the part. And just when people thought the saga was over, Joe pointed out something that no one else seemed willing to say out loud. Bella didn't just hurt her own career, she damaged the brand of The Last of Us in the process. This wasn't just about her, he said. This was about a franchise that had millions of fans, years of loyalty, and now it's become this polarizing disaster. You go from being the most anticipated show of the year to being the biggest internet meme in 6 months. That's not just bad press, that's legacy damage. Joe brought up how the entire situation had affected future plans for the franchise. Season 3 was quietly canceled. Merchandise sales slowed down. Licensing deals started to fall through. That show had a future, he said. There could have been spin-offs, prequels, maybe even movies, but now it's radioactive. Studios don't want to touch it because they don't want to deal with the baggage that comes with Bella's version of Ellie. Keaton Stoward, he mentioned how showrunners had allegedly been in early talks with other platforms before everything crashed and burned. They had big plans, but once Bella became the headline for all the wrong reasons, everything froze. Joe also pointed out how damaging it is when actors see themselves as bigger than the story. That's the part nobody wants to talk about, he said. When you're a performer, your job is to serve the script. You bring it to life. You don't get to rewrite it because you think it should reflect your values better. That's not your job. That's the writer's job, the director's job. You're there to act, not editorialize. He emphasized that this was one of the biggest problems in modern Hollywood. Young actors who get a taste of fame and suddenly think they're the visionary behind the camera. Then Joe turned to what happened after the show ended. While most actors used that momentum to land more roles, Bella disappeared. Not a single major project, no film deals, no Netflix series, nothing. Joe said, "You know what that means? It means the industry is watching this train wreck and deciding to pass. They're seeing the interviews, the live meltdown, the backlash, and they don't want any of it spilling onto their sets." He pointed out that even in a town like Hollywood, where second chances are common, some people make themselves too risky to hire. Even more surprising to Joe was how quickly Bella vanished from award season. Not even a nomination push, he said. No invites to the big tables, no red carpets. It's like everyone just quietly moved on. He explained that when someone is being blacklisted softly, not officially, but through silent rejection, it starts like this. Calls stop, scripts stop arriving, and eventually the actor realizes too late that the machine has shut them out. Rogan then made a larger point about accountability. We always talk about mental health and pressure, and sure, it's real, but there's a difference between someone being overwhelmed by fame and someone actively alienating the people who got them there. Bella didn't just struggle with success, she misused it. She tried to control the narrative, flip the character, insult the fans, and then cried foul when it all blew up. He made it clear, being emotional doesn't make someone immune to criticism. You can feel overwhelmed, sure, but don't blame everyone else for a storm you created. The podcast episode shifted into a deeper discussion about fan culture. Joe explained that modern audiences aren't just passive viewers anymore. They're deeply invested. They care about authenticity, and they care when a character is altered without respect to the source material. People don't like being talked down to, Joe said, especially not by someone they were rooting for. Bella came in with the audience cheering her on, and within a year, she turned them into her biggest critics. That's a self-inflicted fall if I've ever seen one. He also noted that the damage extended beyond the US. The South Park parody was translated into multiple languages. International fans, many of whom weren't even part of the original backlash, joined in. That kind of ridicule crossing cultural boundaries, that's rare, Joe said. Usually these things stay local, but this became global mockery. That's when you know it's bigger than just internet drama. It's reputational collapse. Joe brought up how younger actors in Hollywood should be paying close attention. This should be a case study in acting school, he joked. Here's how not to react when you're given a dream role. Here's how not to treat your fan base. Here's how not to talk in interviews. He wasn't being mean, he was being brutally honest. People need to learn from this. The internet doesn't forget, and neither does the industry. Once you go viral for the wrong reasons, good luck putting that genie back in the bottle. He also compared Bella's crash to other examples in Hollywood. We've seen actors go through controversies and come out stronger, but those are people who take responsibility, who own their mistakes. Bella didn't do that. She deflected. She cried on camera. She blamed everyone else. That's not how you win people back. That's how you make sure they don't follow you to your next project. Joe finished with a thought about legacy. What's wild is that Bella could have built something incredible, he said. Instead, she's going to be remembered not for her performance, but for how badly she fumbled it afterward. People don't remember her as Ellie. They remember her as the girl who got roasted by South Park, cried on Instagram, and vanished from the scene. He paused, then said, "It's a shame, but it's also a lesson." And that's where the episode left off, not with sympathy, but with a warning. Hollywood can give you everything in an instant, but if you forget who you're performing for, if you let ego overtake humility, if you challenge the people who believed in you first, then that spotlight becomes a mirror, and sometimes that mirror shows the audience exactly why they were right to turn away.